Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 25 of Firon's Commentaries System Shock 2.
The many hold sway here. Even I cannot maintain contact. You are on your own, human. Fail me not.
Well, looks like I'm by myself now. No guidance from Showdown, no hope of help from anybody, no easy supplies either. Just me, my skills, whatever items I managed to scrounge, and one last objective. We've got to find the brain of the mini and take it out. Hopefully then, our problems will be solved.
We invite you to spread yourself out on our shore. We're there to help you before long.
Well, quite obviously, this has got to be the hardest part of the whole game. The environment's tricky, toughest enemies, and then there's the fucking arachnids. Expect to see me get bitten quite a bit in this episode and the upcoming episode after this. I don't know how or why, but the arachnids just seem to get quite lucky in these two episodes. But out of any part in this game, I've re-recorded here more than any other part of the game. I don't want to state the exact number because it'd be kind of embarrassing, but this place is extremely challenging. Or not challenging, more so that it's frustrating. Even for someone who's played this game, you know, more than the average person. But this place is filled to the brim with quite a lot of threats. Rumblers, arachnids, cyborg midwives, Psi Reavers, slippery arterial passageways which make it very hard to dodge. There is usually some sort of obstacle that blocks me while I'm running away. There's those air vents that send me hitting into the ceiling, which are kind of like speed boosters, only a lot more deadly. The list goes on. But there's quite a bit of interesting history here. The only logs that you find here are made by one person, who we heard from in Command Deck, Firon. I'm not sure if you remember him, but he's that scientist guy who was studying the many and their biology and all that. He basically explains as much as he can about the many, both in biochemistry-wise and also in terms of philosophy. In fact, I'm going to be playing a log by him very soon. Just a minute. Just need to find it. Here we are.
Flying things dragged me and David here last night. I don't remember much about the trip. I guess I must have blocked it out, half conscious most of the time. I keep remembering the part from Pinocchio, you know, where the old man goes looking for the puppet inside the whale. Except I don't think anyone's coming in here to save me.
Well, that's an interesting comparison. I'm guessing that's symbolism for, like, being trapped in the belly of some giant monster with no hope of escaping. And technically, anybody inside that monster is food. Must be a rather miserable existence. Then again, we're kind of in the same position, but we'll find our way out. We're Goggles, after all. Goggles always wins. Here's another log by Pre-Voting, by the way.
Now I'm convinced that this many, as it calls itself, indeed has a centralized nervous system, which means it would have to have some kind of centralized control. To this end, I've gathered as many weapons as I could and stashed them in caches. One of the beasts discovered a cache and apparently mistook it for food. It simply brought it into the crunching room.
I don't understand. What weapon caches is he talking about? Because I've been through this game several times. That was an obvious fact, but I've been through this game several times. Body of the Mini, I've explored every nook and cranny that I know of, and I've never seen any stash of weapons, you know, ammunition, health items. Health items, definitely. There's, like, very little health items here. So, you better have stockpiled on plenty of health items before coming here, because if you didn't, well, you might as well just start all over. Or at least from the last save before you enter the body of the many.
Her coldness is not.
This place is pretty treacherous. As linear as the body of the many is, I mean, Daniel once put it in his commentary that it's a short trip from ass to brain. It is rather tricky to transverse because there's no military organization, like there's no pointers as to where to go. Everything's randomly put together, which makes sense because it's an organic being. But because there's no markers or anything, it's rather easy to get lost, let alone find any of the secret areas like that one area I was just in.
Do you think we will sit idly by?
Not to mention the hazards kind of give you the indication that you need to get moving, like rush, or you'll die. And as you probably already know by now, the Mini has been sending many threatening messages to me. All about how cocky they are and how futile my attempts are, and that I have no chance in hell at beating them. That's a bunch of bullshit right there, because they already know quite clearly that I am more than capable of completely obliterating them. Oh well, we'll see soon enough. Until then, let them talk. Soon I'll be there to silence them for good. Nothing suspicious about this corridor. Let's go inside it. Sneak attack! Owned! Ah! God damn it! Another. Alright. Thank you, thank you. Oh, God, that felt good. Alright. One last enemy to take care of. Hey, baby. Yeah, enjoy your bath. There's one room in this area that's rather useful. It's technically a sanctuary, as you might say, as long as you don't attract any enemies to it. But this is technically the only safe room, quote per quote, in the body of the many. I do quite a bit of research here, though. Tad bit unusual, considering I never really bothered with research in the past. I guess there's always something new to learn with this game. Except we all know repair is rather useless. I mean, if we know of System Shock 2, there's really no reason to get it, but SecMod is rather useful, but we'll get to that. Ramble. Anyhow, path is cleared, sanctuary uncovered. And this place has all the chemicals in the game, a recharger, a replicator, and 4 upgrade units. Basically the perfect area to rest up before bigger battles in this place. And I guess I was a bit exaggerative in the past. There are actually 2 more rechargers that you find in this game. This one in particular, and another one in the last level.
Please make your selection.
However, in this case, the recharger is set in a rather faraway location than where you actually want it to be. You'll understand what I mean in the second episode of The Body of the Many.
The arterial passageways are blocked by some kind of sphincter. When following the nerves that threaded out of the walls from the blockage, they lead to a pair of nerve clusters. When the passageway is open, the cluster seems to contract. Conversely, I wonder if I was able to destroy both clusters, it would open the blockage permanently. I'm anxious to see the rest of this beast.
And that about sums up what I've been trying to do since the beginning of this episode. And another note. Pretty much by this point in the game, even in Impossible, the player is most likely to have everything they need in terms of skills. I mean, I have already maxed out my endurance, my strength, my psi. Pretty much all this. I think I also maxed out my agility too. So all that's really left is researching some other useful items, and there's not really much else to do. There it is. This is the implant I was talking about earlier, though, if you saw it in the picture there. The orange brain-looking thing. That's somewhat useful. Conserves on health supplies, though this late in the game, not so much useful anymore. Critical failure! And yet another critical failure. I can't believe I let these worms get to me. Oh well. I like the quietness here. It's very peaceful. The slight dripping, the sound of dripping water in the background is rather calming. In comparison to the loud and very creepy moaning of the Mini's body. Yeah, looks like that orients in my research. Okay. We're gonna be moving on very soon. I wanted to get some other things here, though it takes me quite a while, because at this point I was taking my time making decisions. But I do get 2 more Psi powers before I decide to end off this series. The first of these 2 powers is localized pyrokinesis. Come on, click it. There we go. Come on. There we go. Basically, it summons a shield of fire that damages all creatures within a radius of 10 feet. Basically, it's a very good defensive power, as with most Psi powers. Most people don't. It's not very useful in co-op because it can also hurt your partners. But in single player, it's actually rather useful keeping enemies off your back because they get hurt by it and it ends up disrupting their attack animations. And no other logs for Profotine. Quickly, 1 more power, and that would be Psychogenic Strength, which increases my strength stat by 2 temporarily. The whole plan about that was to basically increase the strength with my Psi weapon to make it even stronger than before. Though I don't think it notably increased my power any more than it was initially. You'll see what I mean later on, but I guess I kind of wasted Sour modules, but hey, just extra stuff, I don't really need it, so who cares? Now then, let's continue. Oh look, a log.
You seek your associates, but you cannot find them.
You are so very alone. How does it feel
To be one.
against the infinite?
One of the most memorable lines of the many. One against the infinite. That's pretty cool. I gotta admit that the Mini has probably gotta be one of the most badass villains in video gaming. Just because they have some of the best quotes ever. Oh my god, not again! This is bullshit! Whatever. This must be the crunching room that Profotine mentioned. Very loud. Might have to speak up in order for you guys to hear me when we get to the main crunching room. It's very peculiar. I'm sure you've noticed, but those doors stacked on top of each other, I get the feeling that's supposed to be like a tent or some sort of shelter, supposedly hinting that survivors probably set up camp trying to survive inside the body of the many. Well, I guess they're rather unfortunate. Oh my god! Not again! My god, I'm so glad I got a stockpile on a ton of Tox Hypos. I swear to god, that was like one of my best choices. Though I guess I didn't think far ahead enough to use that implant. That probably would have cut down the toxins. And I'm starting to regret ever leaving behind the hazard suit. And this, my friends, is the site of the hardest jumping puzzle in the entire game. But before we get to taking it on, let's listen to another log by Profotine.
There's some kind of horrible grinding noise coming from the next area. It sounds like chewing. I think I know what's going to happen here. This is some kind of digestive tract of a very, very large animal. I go back and forth between being fascinated and terrified. The creatures are a remarkable discovery. I wish I could only live long enough to learn more.
See, what's rather defining about Profotine's character is that, as a scientist, he's extremely fascinated by this whole new discovery. In truth, even though he's like scared out of his freaking mind, he really does hold up to his role as a scientist, and I think he's like one of the most admirable characters in this game because, unlike the others, you'll find out in later logs, but he's actually a lot smarter in terms of philosophy than most scientists are in this game. And not to mention, he is just fascinated at the biology of the many, the fact that they were able to grow this quickly in such a short time. He's one of the cool characters. And don't even ask how I got past that easily. Don't ask. And this is the end of episode 25, guys. I'll be seeing you soon in episode 26, second to last episode of Firon's Commentary, System Shock 2, Psi Only-Run. So, yeah, I'll see you then, guys. Bye.